Hi, I'm Keri Murphy, and welcome back to Inspired Living TV. Have you ever had a dream about a revolutionary new product or service? What did you do about that dream? Well, today's guest actually started her business with a dream and has since built a multi-million-dollar luxury brand. And today, she's going to share with you how she did it.
I'm not big for you. I'm big for me.
Wow, because I really thought I was on my way.
Only you can stop you. Go for it.
Today, I have the immense pleasure to sit down with a woman who is truly beautiful, as you can see, from the inside out though. And DayNa, you actually built this multi-million-dollar brand from an idea, a dream.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, I think throughout my life I've always had lots of dreams, but I had a vision to very early on to have a brand, to have a company that had products with my name on it, sold around the world. So that was the initial vision that I had and what kind of started the company back in 2001.
Just a small dream, right?
Just a small dream. Take on the world.
Yeah. And then as you got into the DayNa Decker brand and the candle line, which I want to talk to you about, yes. You had another dream about what would revolutionize, something that was really innovative. Tell me about that dream.
Okay. Well, we had started, the original vision was to create products that were for the home, more soothing, spa-like type products. And after we had created something that's this modernized oil lamp, we realized that the market, the illuminating market, was more focused on candles. It was a $3 billion market at the time.
It's a pretty big market.
It was a big market. And so I thought, wouldn't it be great to create something really innovative and different in the market? And there wasn't a lot of new innovations in that industry at the time. This is back in 2001. So we started trying to create some new wick technology, doing a lot of tests, trials and error in the kitchen with different cotton-like materials, because cotton wicks have been around for centuries. Mm-hmm. And so I had a dream. So this was kind of where the actual physical dream came into play. I had a dream one night about a wood wick. And so I woke up and I shared the idea with somebody I was working with at the time. And she thought it was absolutely crazy.
What are you thinking, a wood wick?
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely crazy. And so I said, no, we need to just try this, because it made so much sense to me. And so it took a couple years. We did a lot of trial and error and a lot of testing, and came up with the first wood wick. And in my dream, the wick was kind of this beautiful shaped, long, kind of flamed wick. But what we found as we started testing, that it actually crackled, and that was not in my dream. So it was like this special feature that, as we actually really created it, it actually crackles like a fireplace.
Yeah, and I remember receiving a gift from one of your licensees for Christmas, and it was the wood wick candle. I'm like, this is so cool, because it crackles like a fire.
Right.
So it took a couple years. Obviously, it wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna have this idea and poof, overnight, here you go. It took some trial and error. But where were you before all that? I mean, sure, you had this dream about a brand with your name. It's now in 39 countries. It's a multi-million-dollar business. But DayNa, you didn't come from money. Like, you grew up in North Dakota. Like, tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Yes, no, I really came from, I think it was just my parents inspired me at a very young age. They were young parents, so I was a latchkey kid and raised myself. But it started really, I think, with them. So my father was an entrepreneur from very, very early age, and he was in women's fashion. But he is that type of guy where you'd hug him and you'd smell like him the rest of the day.
We all know those people.
Yes. He always smelled so good, or his fragrance would linger throughout the home. And I really remember that as a child. So fragrance has always been a big part of my life in general. And then just, being in the fashion world, he would always bring home like the coolest, the newest clothes for me. But he also was all about ambiance. So his home, or our home growing up and his home now, I mean, he always plays soft music and it was always dim and it really kind of created the ambiance. So I grew up in that environment as, from a baby on. And then my mom owned a women's health club. So she was always focused on more healthy living and fitness. And so I had these, just completely different aspects kind of instilled in me from a very early age. So that's kind of what set the foundation for who I am. And what inspires me. And so
And then you actually fast forward a little bit, you signed with Ford.
Yes.
You were a Ford model, and that was something that you really were focused on achieving. No other agency but Ford.
Yes.
And you traveled the world.
Yes.
Doing that. So you had this idea, DayNa, but then you decided at one point to actually bring it to life. Which I
Yes.
think so many of us have these great ideas, we have these dreams, but to actually say, you know what? I'm going to do it.
Right.
So what was that tipping point for you? What was the thing in your life that happened that you were like, now's the time?
Well, I think the tipping point was I had always had to take care of myself, because even though my parents had their own businesses, they were focused on that, and I was in charge of kind of from a very early on taking care of myself. And I did that for a long time with modeling. I traveled the world, and I supported myself, and I got to a point where I was 30 and I didn't get a college education because I had been traveling modeling.
Right.
So I was at a place where I didn't have really a resume. I didn't have a college education. I had saved money. And so the turning point was I had been dating someone, and that relationship didn't work out as I had planned. And I remember just laying on my floor and thinking, okay, I am never going to be in a position again where I'm relying on somebody, or that I feel like I don't have something to there to support me. Like, I
Right.
needed to build something that I always felt like I can take care of myself. I have this, I've built this. And that was my tipping point.
That's a good one. It's good. So after that relationship ended,
Yes.
you kind of really learned, wow, I don't want to depend on someone else.
Yes.
I want to have my own thing.
Yes.
Which you did for years with the modeling.
Yes.
Yes.
So I always knew that. But you in modeling, you get to a point where you know that.
You're waiting for the next job
Yes.
too, and
Yes.
even though you get paid well, you just don't know when the
Yes.
next one's going to come. So taking responsibility and saying, I really want to create something on my own.
Yes.
So after this moment, you're at this pivotal place where you decide, I want to do something on my own. Now's the time.
Right.
For most people, DayNa, this is where it gets, oh my gosh, I have this big vision. What do I do next? And you took a really big leap of faith in that next place.
Right.
What was that?
Thank you for asking that, because, and I'm sure you meet people like this. There's a lot of people I meet that have ideas, and
We all have ideas.
Right. And I was one of them. I always had so many different ideas because I always knew I wanted to start my own business, and I was thinking, what is that? So there was a makeup artist I had been working with who had innovated this new spray-on foundation, and she had been working with this consulting firm. And I saw it, once she started working with them, just take it to the next level. So I asked for, the referral, and contacted them. And it was, at the time for me, it was a big investment. They committed to doing a 3-month contract with me, where they would put together a business plan, financials, and help me find the engineer chemist that I needed to create this product idea I had. So it was a $30,000 investment, which was a big commitment.
That's a huge
Yes.
commitment, especially for something that is just an idea.
Yes.
Because at this point, you didn't have anything else but that.
Right.
Right. But you did have the people that believed in the idea.
Yes.
But
But
so
there
for
were
a lot of
people that
people,
didn't
it was
believe in the idea.
$30,000.
Right.
But you did
That's
it.
a lot. Right.
Yes.
And once I made that commitment, to me, there was no turning back.
Right.
It was
Right.
just,
You're like, I'm in
you know?
it. I'm in it.
yes.
Yeah.
And the other pivotal point was there were some people in my life, including this ex-boyfriend, who didn't believe in me. And so there was this, this part of me that said, I'm going to prove them wrong. I had wonderful parents who have always been supportive of me, so at least I had that. But there were other influences around me that I felt like they didn't. I wanted to show them that I could do more than just be a pretty face.
Right. And you certainly have done that.
Well, thank you.
DayNa, you talk a lot about the importance of team
Yes.
and how that has been one of the important pillars to building this business.
Yes.
How do you find the right team?
Having the right team is so pivotal. And so I think finding the right people is about, we do a lot of personality testing, actually.
You do?
We do.
Like Myers-Briggs or?
Myers-Briggs, Strength Finders. Those are the two main ones we'll do. But yeah, I'm always looking at ways to really understand, because when you interview someone, the best employees I had, or I have had, were the worst interviewers.
Interesting.
So you really, when that...
So it's like people also put out like a version of themselves, probably, that they want you to see.
Yes.
But is it truly authentic with who they are?
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Right. So I love Strength Finders, because you really understand what someone's strengths are, and then you understand, because I know mine, who I can work with well, and what the strengths are, and even Myers-Briggs. So that has been pivotal in finding the right people. But then it's, I think, also referrals. Mm-hmm. I've been blessed with really having great people on the team, and especially when building our wholesale business, finding somebody that has the connections, or finding people that I know my strengths, having different strengths.
Right. So try not to hire people that are exactly like you.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Because I think it's so easy to do that, because we want to oftentimes hang around people that are like us.
Right.
But that's not so good when you're building your team.
No.
You want to have that, diversity and different qualities coming on board.
Yes.
Because we don't need a bunch of us in one room, right?
Too many ideas at that
Too
point.
too many ideas. What has been your biggest lesson so far?
My biggest lesson, I think my biggest lesson is really about finding the balance in my life between being a mom.
Because you have two adorable little boys.
Yes, thank you. So being a mom, taking care of myself, being a good daughter, being an excellent wife, and just balancing it all, because you always, when you're running your own business, you feel like you're always in a marathon.
Yeah.
Or there's the
Always
to-do
something
list.
to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
The to-do list never stops.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find a way to stop and then find the balance. There's definitely been times in my life when I've been running that marathon, and that was my first priority.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that finding the balance and having that balance between all of it was where I function the best. And even the business is more successful when I'm taking care of myself.
Sure.
So I think that was the greatest lesson.
And that's so important to remember as you're building your dream. Within the first few years, I think it's really hard to figure out that balance, but you have to at some point realize that if you're not taking care of yourself, right, and the relationships around you, then it's going to be really hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then you go through this mommy guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Am I spending enough time?
Yeah.
And even just your physical health, because if you're not feeling well, you're not going to be productive either.
Yeah. If you had one do-over, what would you do?
Oh, if I had one do-over, I would have I would have done a lot of things, but I probably would have expanded our product categories faster.
Okay.
Or expanded them more early on, because the vision has always to be a lifestyle brand, and we've been really focusing on home fragrance and bath and body, and so that was one lesson. And I think just managing inventory. It's understanding the cash flow, and it's been you learn from mistakes that you've made, and also as far as the team goes, if somebody isn't right, letting them go before.
Which I think as a woman too can be very hard.
Yes.
For us to say, it's not a fit, because we
Right.
want to please.
Right.
Right.
Right. And you build the relationships. You do care about them, but that they may not be right for that role. And sometimes you kind of talk yourself into why you should keep them, and it's better to just to pull the plug.
Right. Which
sooner
is probably
than
better
later.
for them too in the long term.
Yes.
Yes. So DayNa, at some point your business was really growing significantly. And part of that was through your licensing of the woodwick.
Yes.
Which we've seen so much. Even if people aren't familiar with DayNa Decker, they've seen that.
Yes.
And at one point there was a complication or a problem with one of your licensees that created a really big debt for you.
Mm-hmm.
How did you handle that?
So I think having the perseverance and having the strong belief that the vision you had ultimately is going to come to fruition, and just believing in yourself that it's going to be okay. I had a lot of people that, told us to shut down, it'll be easier, or change the direction, and to most people, it may have seemed that there was no hope. You're never going to make it through this.
Right.
Especially when you have really tight cash flow, and like we were talking about debt.
Yeah. Because cash flow is one of the things that no matter how big you are, no matter where your business is, you could have a big number, right, of revenue and sales, but cash flow is an issue.
It's significant.
Yeah.
And so I just had a strong belief. I just knew that if we kept trying different things and options, that we would ultimately find a solution to it. And we found a licensing partner, and we decided that instead of managing a piece of the business, we would license off pieces of it, and it changed it greatly reduced our debt and put us in a position where we now have a very much more positive cash flow, and it's manageable. But there were several years that it was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And you think that, oh gosh, how am I going to get up tomorrow?
But you did.
But we did.
And you just kept going.
Yes.
Knowing that there was going to be a solution. And I think that's important because people, again, we always have the option to quit.
Right. Well, and I think I didn't want to let people down. I think if had it been only me, then who knows what choices I would have made. But because there's there are investors and there are employees and there are other people that really rely on you, to me, I had to do anything and everything possible to make it successful.
So where's DayNa Decker going to be in the future?
Oh, DayNa Decker is going to continue to grow internationally because our international growth and opportunities is really expanding. But we're going to be expanding into other categories, loungewear, jewelry, home accessories. And so the focus is more on additional product, more online presence, and hopefully some retail stores.
Oh, so exciting.
Yes.
Okay, and my last question for you is, people are watching at home and they're looking at you and this life that you have created. But I want to just remind them that you were from North Dakota. You didn't have a big bank account when you started. And even though you were a model, you didn't have a celebrity name when you started this business. So really, anybody can create a brand or a business with the right team.
Yes. And perseverance.
So what does inspired living mean to you?
Inspired living to me, I think, really is about my relationships with people, my family, my friends, is really truly what inspires me day to day. So I think that making sure that it's all there's a great synergy between it all, and that I'm affecting people's lives in a positive way, whether through product or giving somebody a job or just being there for them.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, what inspired living is about.
That is very inspired. Thank you so much for your time today, DayNa.
Thank you.
Love you. And thank you for watching this Inspired Living interview. If you want more inspiration, and come on, I know you do, just head over to inspiredliving.tv, join the community, and we want to hear from you. Have you had a dream? Have you had a vision for your life? And if so, what have you done about it? We would love to hear from you, so please comment below. And remember, when you are inspired, you inspire others. Continue to keep dreaming it, living it, and being it, and I'll see you next time.